make it based on the data.
And so is that a bit of a change for you to look at data ever since engaging in the CSSI process of really using data to make decisions? Is that elevated in your way of making decisions?
When for my team, I can let the counselor and Ms. Thomas kind of share their ideas on it. But I know in terms of me, from when I'm coming from my background, that has always been a part of what we've done. And especially since I came on at Brown Middle School, we've always kind of used data. Data has been the center of driving, looking at the data, looking at the charts, looking at the trends, looking at all the different trends to figure out which direction that we need to go. So I guess in reference to CSSI, it just kind of, when they came on board, I know for me in the direction that role that I was putting into to be over the project, it just kind of kept moving in the direction that was already being used. But it wasn't nothing like I would say, okay, I'm using more data. It wasn't like that for me, but the counselor and Ms. Thomas can kind of share their ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That's a great answer. Thank you. Ms. Thomas, Ms. Keller,
Ms. Thomas? Oh, I was Ms. Thomas. Go ahead. And I definitely while we're waiting on Ms. Thomas, I agree with Dr. Smith. It helped us focus a little bit more on specific parts of the data, but we've always used the data to make those decisions. When it pertains to students, whether it's attendance, we focus on behavior, we focus on their instructional settings. So, it was just an additional piece that helped us focus a little bit more on definitely their attendance.
Right. That's great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. What impact has the CNI planning process had on the school? Like on the student population, on the culture of the school, on attendance?
I think it has had a positive impact on the culture of the school, because we have a lot of students, like, at the beginning, we had a lot of kids that, that wanted to kind of stay at home and do virtual learning. But I know with our attendance aid individual and along with other staff members, they've reached out to these students, and which I know some of the students themselves have kind of communicated in terms of a way that, they prefer to be there in person, and they like the environment that they're in when they come to the school.
Okay, awesome. That's great. Have you noticed any changes in personnel and staff from the CNI planning process and the attendance focus?
What I've noticed, and the other individuals to share, but what some of the things that I know that we've noticed is that they're kind of excited because they know that, hey, they can call on Ms. Thomas to support them when it comes to a student who's having an attendance issue, whereby it really kind of take the burden off of their plate, because but they're also trying to keep the kids in school. So a lot of time you'll find out that they're really reaching out to the students. But what has happened with the attendance aid, it has made their job a little easier, because they don't have to worry about making no communication when they can just kind of send the name on to Ms. Thomas.
Yeah,
Great.
I will agree. A lot of teachers have contacted me personally or individually, asking me about information in regards to a student. And it goes back to data, because for one, at the beginning, I wasn't inputting my information into the Infinite Campus database where everyone can view it. I was doing my own individual notes. So if a teacher were to call and give me and ask information, I would have information already detailed in my notes, and they'll, it'll just be a shocker to them, that just surprised at the fact that, oh, that's why I couldn't get in contact with them, or this is why he's coming in late, or this, that. I've been already, jotted down my notes at the beginning, and that's when I've learned now to actually input it in the system. So that was a learning lesson for me, learning how to, incorporate my data versus, me just holding on to it in my notebook, writing everything down each time I talk to a parent or a student. So, I will say that, yeah, I have, been a help to the teachers.
That's a great answer. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Has the school made changes in policies or personnel practices or funding as a result of the CNI planning process?
Well, no, we haven't. Not in place of the CNSS process. We were able to, and then again, we were able to sustain the position for a little bit longer this year right here. So some adjustments were made when we had the funds. So from that perspective, we did make some adjustment so that we keep Miss Thomas on board as we try to work out the attendance aid position for future use.
Great, thank you. And then I'm down to the last sets of questions, so we're closing in on the end, but I still have several. Will you describe how the implementation and research members helped you develop the CNI plan?
Say that again. I didn't catch all of that. Broke up on this end.
How did the implementation and research members, the West Ed people, how did they help you develop the CNI plan? Will you describe how they helped you do that? Remember the research team, we met from the very beginning. And basically they had a roadmap. They had different types of questions that we had to meet and we had to strategize around. We planned together as a group. That was one of the times where we actually planned with other schools. Because first of all the schools in our cluster that was under the CSSI plan, we all met. So they walked us through. They gave us an overview of where this grant was coming from. They gave us the idea of the goal of the grant and the direction that we need to move in. And then from there, they had different activities set in place that help us prepare and how to answer the questions in order to write the grant. So they actually took us from the beginning to the end of the grant. And as of today, we're still kind of working with them with the CSSI plan. And can you talk about ways in which they helped you figure out the activities that you wanted to implement, the attendance support?
When they had some questions, and the way they did it, it was based on the data, because basically they had an individual who was analyzing the data and looking at the data just like we was looking at the data. So we might make a suggestion about we want to head in this direction. Then they might ask us different types of probing question where, why do you think this right here? Or why are you leaning in this direction? Because our data is showing us this and our data is showing us this. So we had to come to agreement in terms of what we felt the data was talking about. And also it brought in a lot of time people were looking at the numerical data, but also from our perspective, from our team, we had to look at the empirical data too, because there were some things that you could not actually see in the numbers that you knew was empirically there. So we had to kind of work on those ideas and we had to work together as a team to come to what we felt was best for the students.
That's great. And have they helped you at all figure out sustainability or finding funding?
When sustainability, that's something different because, our budget get handed in from the district. And like I said earlier, is that, the district has different mandates that that we have to do. Like, for example, we already had our schedule kind of made out for this year coming up. And one of the things that has to be done now based on some of the mandates that are coming into the district is that our bail schedule has to be modified. And one of the things we're going to be doing is like going from having maybe like 5 or 6 periods to maybe having like 7 periods a day that we have to include, which means that we have other personnel that we have to bring on to make sure that these core classes are met to meet the students' needs.
That's great. That's great. Is there, how useful,